Alright guys, in this mini project we're going to build a profile scroller using a JavaScript iterator, an ES6 iterator. And I'm doing this because a lot of people see things like generators and iterators, new features of ES6, and it's hard to kind of figure out what they could be used for in real life, in a real application. So we're going to integrate it with the DOM, and we're going to create a little profile scroller that you'd see on like a dating site. So you'd see a picture of someone with some information, click next, go to the next profile, and so on. So we're going to do that with an ES6 iterator. All right, we're going to make it look pretty decent, so we're going to use Bootstrap. We're going to go to getbootstrap.com, go to get started, and we're going to grab the starter template here. All right, now I have a folder called Profile Scroller with an empty index.html and an empty app.js file. So just go ahead and create those. And we'll go ahead and paste this in. All right, we'll change the title here to Profile Scroller. And then we want to make sure at the bottom we go ahead and put in our app.js script. All right, now for the body, it's not going to be too bad. We're just going to, first of all, put a container, move everything to the middle. And then I want it to be a really narrow application, so just a 6-column div, and then we'll push it to the middle. So we're going to use a row class here, and then a 6-column div, so call MD6. And then to push it to the middle, we'll use MX auto, which will give us margin auto on the right and the left. All right, and then inside here we'll have an H1. I'm going to give it a class of MB-3 to give it some margin bottom, and we're going to say profile scroller. All right, and then underneath that we're going to have a div with the ID of image display. Nothing inside the div, it's basically just a placeholder for where the image will pop up. Then we'll have a line break, and then let's have another ID of profile display, which will have the rest of the data. All right, then we'll have a line break, and then we'll have the next button. So we'll say button, give it an ID of next, a class of BTN, a class of BTN-dark, and a class of BTN-block. Okay, all Bootstrap classes. And we'll say next. So let's save that. And let's go ahead and open this up with live server, and it should look like this. All right, so now we're going to go to our app.js file, and first thing we'll do here is create the iterator itself. All right, so we're going to go actually before we do that, let's create the data. Now usually the data would come from like an API or a database or some kind of backend, but in this case it's just going to be hard-coded. Okay, so I mean, if later on if you wanted to create your own API and link to that, that's fine, but we're just going to hard-code it. So let's say name, do our first person here. Of course it's John Doe, the famous John Doe. Age, he's 32 today. And let's say gender, male. And then we're also going to have looking for, female. And let's say location, Boston, Mass. And then image. Now the image, I'm actually using an API called random user. And we can get these URLs that are formatted like this, random user API portraits, and then we could say woman or men, and then an ID.jpg. So in this case, if we look at this image, it gives us this guy here. And if we were to change this men to woman, we get a picture of a woman. And we can change the number, like let's say 3, and it'll give us another picture. All right, so we're just going to put some random images in here. So let's go ahead and copy this, and let's put it in 2 more times. And this next one here, let's say it's Jen Smith, and let's say she's 26, female. We'll say looking for male. City, or location, we'll say Miami, Florida, and we'll just change this to woman /82 JPEG. And then this last one here, let's say William Johnson, age 38, male, looking for female, and location, we'll just say, I don't know, Lynn, Mass. And then let's just change the ID here to 83. All right, so that's our data, and we can pretend that that's coming from some kind of API. So now what we'll do is create the actual iterator function. So let's say profile iterator. So just function profile iterator, and this is going to take in profiles, which is going to end up being this data. And then what we want to do is first of all create a variable called next index that's going to initially be set to 0. All right, so that's like our counter. And then we want to return an object with a next function. All right, and then we want to return from here, we want to return either the value or done. Okay, so value and done false, or just done true, depending on a certain condition. So we're going to use a ternary operator here. We're going to say next index. Okay, so next index, if it is less than profiles, which is being passed in, dot length. Okay, so in this case it would be 3 because we're going to be passing this data in. Okay, so if it's less than, if this is less than the length, then we want to return an object with value, and then profiles, and then for the index it will be next index plus 1, so next index plus plus. Okay, and then we also want to send along done as false because it's not done. It's not, we didn't iterate through the whole thing. Else, so we use the colon for else. Actually, let's format this a little better. We'll go like this. Okay, so else, then we want to just return value, or I'm sorry, not value, done as true. All right, and that's it. That's our iterator. So let's go ahead and actually put a semicolon right here. Let's go ahead and save this. Actually, it doesn't matter. We don't need to save it because we're not done yet. But we want to now go under the data, and we want to create a variable here called profiles and set it to the profile iterator. Okay, and we want to pass in here the data. So that data is being passed in here. All right, now we need to create a click event for this next. When we click this next, we basically want to iterate through the profiles. So let's say next event, and we'll say document dot get element by ID. That button has an ID of next, and we want to add an event listener. Let's say click. So when it's clicked, we want to call a function called next profile. All right, so we'll create that function. We'll say next profile display. Function next profile. And in here, what we want to do is we want to get the remember we have this profile display and image display. That's where we want to put the content. All right, so let's say document dot get element by ID profile display, and then we want to add inner HTML equals backticks. We're going to use a template literal here, and we're going to put in a UL, give it a class of list group because we're using Bootstrap. All right, and then we want to put in an LI with a class of list group item. And in here, we want to put the name, and we'll be able to access that with, actually, you know what? I didn't even do it yet. So right right at the beginning of next profile, we need to actually iterate with profiles.next.value. Okay, because we have this profiles right here that's set to the iterator, so we need to call next. So let's create a variable called current profile, set it to profiles.next.value. All right, so now in here we can say current profile.name. All right, and then we'll just copy this, paste in some more stuff here. So this will be the age, and let's do the location. And let's see. So this will be the preference. So for preference, I'm going to put the gender of the person. We'll say gender, and then we'll say looking for, and then the current profile. Oops. Current profile dot looking for. All right, and we don't need this last one. Okay. So that'll be the profile display. Now we also have the image display. So let's say document.getElementById, image display, and dot inner HTML equals, and then this is just going to be an image tag, and the source is going to go to the current profile dot image. Okay. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's click next. Okay, nothing's happening. Looks like we have some kind of syntax error. 46. What did I do here? Image. What the? How'd you get out? That should be in there. All right, let's try it again. Click next, and there we go. Actually, I want to add a text center on this div right here. Let's try that. There we go. So now everything's in the center. So we have our first profile. I click next. There's our second one, Jen Smith. Next one, William Johnson. Now remember, William Johnson's the last one. Let's click next again, and we're going to get an error that says cannot read property name of undefined because there's no more current profiles. All right, and it's trying to read name right here of something that doesn't exist. It's now the current profile becomes undefined once we iterate through all of everything. So what we'll do here is wrap this in an if statement. Let's end it right here, and then we'll put an else like that. Tab that over. So we're going to say if current profile is not equal to undefined, then we want to load the next person. Else, then we just want to reload the page. We'll say no more profiles. So we'll say window.location.reload. Okay, remember the location object, which is part of the window object, has a method called reload. So let's save. Now we'll go through. Okay, we're at William. Now we click next, and it starts over. Now I want the first person or the first profile to be displayed automatically. Now remember, this next profile function is what does that, and this event listener calls that function. But let's call it manually first, just so it loads the first person. So we'll say right here, call first profile, and we'll just say next profile. All right, save, and there we go. John Doe shows up. Click next, Jen Smith, next, William Johnson, that's the end, and it just kind of loops through. All right. So you can see here, I mean, this isn't like a full application or anything, but this is part of what could be like some kind of dating application, and this is a good use for this iterator. Alright guys, so hopefully you enjoyed this little project, and I will see you in the next video.